Good evening, guys. Thank you for your patience in waiting for this. And thanks a lot for attending this event, even in your busy schedule. So I'll give a introduction about me. I'm Alan Manoj, currently in my second year in Bachelor's of Computer Science at Sri Venkateswara College of Engineering from Chennai. Over to Vidhi for her introduction.
Hello everyone, I am Vidya Sanha studying in second year of CSE from BNMIT Bangalore. And
Yeah, so from the month of January, we both are part of this Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors program. So currently we are Alpha MLSAs. So yeah, so let me start the event. So as this event is conducted as part of Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, so I'll give some information regarding this program. So this program is initiated by Microsoft a few years back. And before it was not named as Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. Rather than that, it was like Microsoft Student Partners. So this is entirely a community for growth, like with respect to both technical aspect and non-technical aspect. You'll be able to engage with your fellow mates like across the globe. It can be anywhere. You can talk with them no matter what. So now you'll be thinking, should I join this or not? My recommendation would be, please do join, go for it, because it would be really useful for you. So when you talk about the eligibility would be you must be at least 16 years old, and irrespective of any domain, you must be an undergraduate student or a postgraduate student. You can apply for this. And talking about the benefits, seriously, there are a lot of benefits for this. So you'll have full access to Microsoft Learn, a site where you can upskill yourself. Then you can join few leagues, then attend Microsoft events, webinars, and summits as well. Then you will get monthly Azure credits, and then you will have 6 months free of LinkedIn Learning and Office 365 subscription, and there are many more. Then, yeah, that's all about the MLSA program. Now let's move on to our topic, as the webinar is about introduction to OpenCV. So at first, I'll talk what computer vision is all about. So computer vision is commonly abbreviated as CV. So which is technology that enables computers or using any external devices, be it a webcam or even a mobile phone or a video recorder, anything it can be, to gain high level understanding, either through an image or a video. So putting up in words, advancement and innovation in AI, that is artificial intelligence, have paved the way, thereby elevating this field, that is computer vision, to surpass the human task of detecting objects. It can be any object indeed. Now let's look at the image. So what we can understand from this image is that there's a computer and then there's an image of a cat. So using its webcam, it detects the object which is in front, that is a cat, and then analyzes it and finally tells a user, that is the programmer, that it is a cat. Then this is like sort of an advanced eye when we compare to human eye. So moving on, like every time we come across any new technology, be it computer vision, be it artificial intelligence, anything. So the first question will be, which programming language is used in this particular technology, right? So yeah, now the question arises, which programming language is used for computer vision? So in computer vision, we use a lot of languages, but most preferred and most commonly used are C++, MATLAB, and Python. But out of these, Python is more preferred. So why Python? We'll see in a bit. So it is very easy to learn, very easy to use. So if you are a Python programmer, using OpenCV, that is the library of Python, would be like really, really easy for you. We will see what OpenCV is in a bit. So as Python is an easy language to learn, especially when we compare it to C++, even if you are new to this field, like you haven't even coded one program in computer vision, you can really start this, like using Python. You'll be able to learn Python easily as your first programming language. Then moving on, it is a open source. You can use Python for free as well as the OpenCV library. You can even deploy your work, that is your project or anything, in Python for free on many sites. There are several sites for deploying your Python projects. Then when it comes to MATLAB, you will have to pay the subscription for the software. And it's a tedious process for that. Then talking about visualization and debugging, when using OpenCV using Python, you'll have access to huge number of libraries written for Python. So visualization using Matplotlib is about as good as MATLAB. And there are many other visualization libraries in Python. Then when it comes to debugging code in Python is easier when we compare it to C++, but it never reaches the easiness when we compare it to MATLAB. MATLAB is easy, like when we compare to other programming languages. Then talking about the scientific computing, a few years back, MATLAB was called the language of scientific computing. But now with the advancement and the libraries of Python, like OpenCV, NumPy, SciPy, scikit-learn, and Matplotlib, the language Python provides a powerful environment for learning and experimenting with computer vision and machine learning. This makes the programmers more convenient to code in Python. Then we have a vast library for machine learning. So Python is commonly used for machine learning, right? So data scientists and machine learning developers works on Python as it is easy to code, as I said before, and it's free. If you become a computer vision developer, you don't have to worry much about the projects that you want to work on, since most of the cases are already covered by Python libraries, which makes you easy to finish your projects rather than stopping in the middle and moving on to some other projects because it's not working well. Then talking about building the web backend, Python is also a popular language for building websites. There are frameworks like Django and Flask, which allows you to quickly put together web apps. That is, you can combine both OpenCV library with these web frameworks, Django and Flask, and make a complete full stack project. Then moving on to the application of computer vision. At first, I'll list them out. So there's robotics, healthcare, security, transportation, and agriculture. And to be honest, there are more application for computer vision, but I've just taken these 5 topics. So when it comes to robotics, now you can see that image, that is the obstacle avoidance robot. So there's a camera in front. Using the camera, it makes sure whether the path in front of it is free, that is without any obstacle or any disturbance. And suppose we say there is no disturbance, it changes, like if there's any disturbance, it changes its direction or slightly changes path, maybe to the right or left where there is no object, and thereby avoiding the obstacle. Then moving on to healthcare, there are a couple of examples in healthcare. These are like common projects. So there's COVID-19 diagnosis, cancer detection, tumor detection, and mass detection. So you can find a lot of data set for these projects. So if you guys wish to move forward with computer vision as your domain of interest, you can work on these projects. Then moving on to security, biometrics would be the most relevant example for security. So let's take an example. When we applied for Aadhaar card, our eyes and our fingerprints were first given, right, like as data which matches each individual. So each time when they check our iris or our eyes, it must match the person, that is me. If I'm showing my eyes to that detector, it must verify it's me the next time when I show. So hereby, bringing some security for this feature. Then moving on to transportation, The example would be checking the driver drowsiness while driving. It detects based on the percentage of eyelids closed and how many minutes it is closed. This is also one of the most common projects which can be done for any computer vision programmer. So now let's see about agriculture. One of the best example would be detecting the diseases in plants. If there's any disease in plants, it obviously goes to the next plant, and obviously the entire crop is going to be wasted. So when we detect it at the early early time, so you can stop the spread of disease and you can save many farmers' life as well. So that's all about the application about this, and there are lot more examples and application in computer vision. Then moving on to introduction to OpenCV. So as I said before, the most commonly used library for Python, like in Python, is OpenCV. OpenCV is great for working in this field, that is computer vision, because it handles the workload of dealing with the implementation of mathematical formula and the algorithm of each machine learning algorithm. Then OpenCV is especially focuses on image processing, video capture and analysis, and many more. So how digital images are seen by computers? Actually, it's through pixels. So you take an image, and it will be separated into many pixels. So what is a pixel? A pixel is a short for a picture element, which is a tiny square of color. It can be grayscale also. So lots of these pixels together can form a digital image. So with now, if you see the image, so that one square, that small square is 1 pixel. So talking about grayscale, that is black and white images, each pixel is a single number representing the amount of light or intensity it carries. In many applications, the range of intensities is from 0 to 255, as you all know. Everything between 0 and 255 is different shades of gray, actually. So where 0 is black and 255 is white. When talking about the color images, pixels are often represented in the RGB color model. So RGB stands for red, green, and blue. So each pixel is a mix of those three colors. RGB is great at modeling all the color humans perceive by combining various amounts of red, green, and blue. So that's all from my end. Over to Vidhi. So she's going to show us and explain to us a project on motion detection.
Thanks, Ellen, for the intro to OpenCV. Firstly, let me just share my screen. Yeah, is it visible?
Yes, it is. You can go on.
So talking about the prerequisites first, obviously we need Python to be installed properly and then OpenCV. For installing OpenCV is just very simple. Just open a command prompt and write pip install OpenCV -Python and just press enter. So whatever packages will be associated with OpenCV like NumPy will automatically get installed along with OpenCV. So for me, it's already installed. So that's why it's showing requirement already satisfied. So let's quickly jump to the editor. Um, so yeah, starting from the coding thing. So firstly, what we need to do is we have to import all the packages. So here we are importing the CV2 and time. Next, we have to take the data from our webcam using the video capture method of OpenCV. Here in bracket, I'm writing 0 because we are using the 0 channel, which is for our webcam. Then we have to initialize the first frame captured to none. Then we'll just create an infinite loop. Why infinite loop? Because we are extracting a video over here. We are not extracting a single image. And what is a video? It's just a continuous slideshow of images. Here we are creating two variables, check and frame, to read the data that is being extracted by the video capture method. So now this extracted images is being converted to grayscale. But the question is now, why grayscale? It's just because we want to increase the accuracy of the detection. For that, we will use CVT color method accepting two parameters. And this VGR to gray is pretty much clear that we are converting blue, green, red scale to grayscale. Further, we have to smoothen the image so that motion detection is much more easier. For that, we will blur the image using the Gaussian blur method provided. Here we have to specify the height and width of kernel, which should be positive and odd. That's why I've taken 2121, which is a positive number as well as it is odd. Now just a pause over here and go back to those old school days. The physics teachers before starting the chapter motion asked us, like whether you are at rest or in motion. And our question to them was, with respect to what? With respect to sun or benches. I just mean that for detecting motion, we always need some point of reference. And in our case, the point of reference is the first frame. So if the first frame is none, that is true for the first time. It will make us enter the loop. Now, the first frame is the first image that comes from our webcam. Then it is converted to grayscale and then Gaussian blur is done to it. This process thing is saved as first frame that acts as reference for our detection. And then we will use absolute difference method of OpenCV to find difference between the frames. Reference frame is compared one by one to all the incoming frames to check whether there is any difference or not between the two frames. Now next we need to set a threshold up to what value we want the motion to be detected. Threshold is important because we don't want noises to be detected as motion. So it's extremely important to set a threshold. The first argument is the source image, the second is the threshold value that is 50, and the third is the maximum value up to which the pixels are being assigned. In the next step, we are using dilate just to add another layer of smoothing to our detection. Here, iteration define how accurate our smoothing will be. If you increase this value, your program may capture noises as well. So just make sure that you give a very small number like 1 or 2. Moving ahead, create a contour. Now what is contour? Contour is the point where motion is happening. The find contours function also takes three arguments. The first one is the source, second one is the contour retrieval method, and the third one is the contour approximation method. Contour is basically a Python list of all the contours in the image at present. We need to specify the contour width as well because again we don't want noises to be counted as contours. So we can set if contour area of contour is less than 1000, then it won't be considered as a motion. And if it is greater than 1000, we'll just create a rectangle over that area. Now obviously for creating a rectangle what we need is the initial coordinates, let it be x and y, and then we need height and width. Here I've written 0, 255 and 0. This indicates that blue is 0, green is 255 and red is also 0. So in net, whatever rectangle we'll be creating, it will be just created in green color, which we'll see in like few minutes. So and this 3 defines the thickness of the boundary. If you increase it to 506, then you will get a rectangle with more thickness. So finally, now we are done with the detection part. And now we just have to show it to the user using IAMShow method. And for exit criteria, we will use the wait key. It's just like when you press the Q on the keyboard, then only the detection panel will get closed. Otherwise, it will just keep running like video. So you can use any key of your choice. It's not necessary that you will use Q. It totally depends on you. And that's it. At last, we'll just release and destroy everything using the video.release method and cv2.destroy all windows to just free it up because nothing is going to be free on its own. So now we'll just look like how the program runs, like how it will look. So here the background is like totally still and while it will just detect a motion, it will just create a small green rectangle over the motion where it is being detected. So this is what we will just create using this program. So you can just do your own experiments with the code and it is not necessary to learn all the functions in one go. OpenCV is more about concepts that you use for detection and improving the accuracy. It's not only limited to motion detection. More than half of the concepts that we saw now about the Gaussian blur and converting color are implemented in face detection, mask detection, invisible cloak and all. So it was just to introduce OpenCV to you all, and the rest you can explore yourself better because the knowledge that you gain by experimenting yourself stays forever with you. So I can't even tell like how much I struggled from installing and till getting the final output, learning what functions I have to use, why it is necessary, and why we can't just skip it. Anyways, the code will be sent to you along with the certificates on your registered email IDs. Just go through it, experiment by changing the values, like what will happen, and just learn the like OpenCV is like very easy. You can just learn it quickly, even if you don't know coding. So if you have any doubts, you can just put it in chat. We'll just give you 3 to 4 minutes, and then we can answer that. So thank you.
Thank you, Vidhi. That was awesome. So now there's a question and answer session. Like if you guys have any questions, please do ask. We are ready to answer.
We'll start answering everything at 6:25. So by that time, you can post your questions. Like there's no hurry, very.
Yeah, okay. I guess that's all the questions. Okay, then I'll read the first question. So the Gaussian blur will blur the image. So my question is, how come detection becomes easier? It should be the opposite, right? Over to Vidhi.
Yeah, see, Gaussian blur is not going to blur the whole image. So it will only blur the noises. So if noises are blurred, the overall image will appear more sharp and smoothened. Hence, it will be very easy to detect if you use a Gaussian blur method, as all the noises, all the disturbances are going to be blurred. So I think it was clear. Like if it's clear, just say that okay, you understood. And you have any further doubts, then you can ask it.
Okay, then we have another question. Could you please elaborate the application procedure for MLSA? So yeah, there are three questions for that. Once again, I'll read those questions for you. Yeah, the first question would be, what excites you about technology and why do you want to help other students explore and learn? And then, how would you take a technical concept and teach it to a friend or peer that has never heard of it? And then, if you are hosting an event at your school, how would your students, how would you get your students to attend? So these three questions are really important in the whole application. So if you want, I'll just send you the link for applying in the chat box. Yeah, so this is the link to apply. Please do give it a try. And then what about the application start date? It's open 365 days in the year. If it's a leap year, 366 then. So, but the selection process is every quarter. So me and Vidhi got selected during the month of January. Like we applied before November. So it depends each and every quarter. So I guess I've answered your question. Then, yeah, is it possible to start OpenCV just with just knowing the basics of Python? Over to Vidhi.
Sure. For writing any code in OpenCV, it's not necessary to know the very hard level of Python. You can go with the basics. It's just like learn a bit about OpenCV, that what are the basic functions, like what is the syntax of Gaussian blur, what is the syntax of converting color method. So just go to any YouTube site or just search it in Google about what is the syntax, what are the basic functions, just learn a bit about OpenCV, and you don't need to be an expert in Python. I'm also not an expert in Python. It's just that I just learned OpenCV side by side, and I'm like able to make some 3 or 4 projects using OpenCV. So you don't need to be an expert. That's it.
Guys, any more questions you have? Thank you, Shalini, for telling that.
So I think we don't have any further questions, Ellen.
Okay, then we'll just wrap it up. Thank you guys for joining this amazing event. I hope you got something out of it.
And you'll
Good.
receive your certificates by tomorrow along with the code so that you can experiment, try it out. Thank you everyone for joining the session. Now you all can leave.